Jake Morrison stood in the white hallway of the space station and checked his watch for the 5th time in 2 minutes. His uniform felt tight around his neck, and he kept pulling at it with one finger. The hallway was quiet, except for the soft hum of air recyclers and the distant sound of footsteps from other parts of the station. He had been waiting for 20 minutes now, and his stomach felt like it had butterflies dancing inside it. Today was the biggest day in human history, and Jake knew it. The first alien visitors were coming to meet with Earth's leaders, and he was the one chosen to greet them first. He was just a lieutenant, but somehow the brass had picked him for this job. Maybe it was because he spoke clearly, or maybe because he had good test scores. He did not know, and right now he did not care much about the reason. The aliens were called Zephyrians, and they came from a planet far away from Earth. Their ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 weeks ago and sent messages saying they wanted to talk. The messages were in perfect English, which surprised everyone. The Zephyrians said they had been watching Earth for a long time and learning about humans. They wanted to make friends and share knowledge. Jake heard footsteps coming down the hall and turned to see Ambassador Lisa Carter walking toward him. She was a tall woman with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, and she always looked calm, even when things got crazy. Behind her walked Dr. Amanda Foster, who was supposed to know everything about alien cultures, even though she had never met any aliens before today. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant Morrison?" Lisa asked as she stopped next to him. "Ready, ma'am," Jake said, and tried to sound more confident than he felt. "Remember what we talked about," Dr. Foster said. "Keep things simple and be respectful. We don't know much about their customs, so just follow their lead." Jake nodded and looked back down the hallway. Soon he would be the first human to shake hands with an alien. Well, maybe they did not shake hands. Maybe they did something else. He hoped he would not mess it up. The wall speaker crackled to life, and a voice said, "Alien shuttle is approaching Dock 7. All personnel prepare for arrival." Jake's heart started beating faster. This was it. He walked to the airlock door and stood at attention. Lisa and Amanda took positions behind him along with 2 other diplomats whose names Jake could not remember. Right now, everyone was quiet, and the only sound was their breathing. The airlock made a hissing noise, and red lights flashed on the wall. Jake could hear mechanical sounds as the systems worked to connect the alien shuttle to the station. His hands felt sweaty inside his gloves, and he wiped them on his pants when no one was looking. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, the airlock door made a beeping sound. The red lights turned green, and Jake heard the locks clicking open. He took a deep breath and got ready to meet the aliens. The door slid open with a soft whoosh, and Jake saw them for the first time. The Zephyrians looked like they were made of living crystal. They were tall and thin with bodies that seemed to glow with soft blue light from inside. Their faces were hard to see clearly because the light moved around under their skin like water. The one in front was clearly female, based on what the briefings had said about their species. The female alien stepped toward the doorway, and Jake's training kicked in without him thinking about it. He stepped to the side and made a sweeping gesture with his arm toward the hallway. "Ladies first," he said with a smile. The alien stopped moving so fast it was like someone had hit a pause button. Her glow dimmed and flickered. She tilted her head to one side and stared at Jake with what looked like confusion or maybe fear. Behind her, the other aliens started making sounds that reminded Jake of wind chimes in a storm. The female alien said something in her own language, and her voice sounded like music played through water. Jake did not understand the words, but he could tell she was upset or confused. The other aliens moved closer to her and formed a circle around her, like they were protecting her from something dangerous. "What did I do wrong?" Jake whispered to Dr. Foster, but she looked just as confused as he felt. The female alien had some kind of device on her wrist, and she touched it with one long finger. When she spoke again, the device translated her words into English. "Why do you challenge my authority?" she asked, and her translated voice sounded formal and cold. "Why do you question my strength?" Jake felt his mouth fall open. He had no idea what she was talking about. All he had done was be polite and let her go first. That was what his mother had taught him to do when he was little. You always let ladies go first because it was the right thing to do. "I don't understand," Jake said. "I was just being polite." The alien made that wind chime sound again, and the other aliens behind her started moving around more. They seemed nervous or angry, and Jake began to worry that he had started an intergalactic incident on his first day of alien contact. "Ambassador," Lisa stepped forward and spoke in her calm, diplomatic voice. "I apologize for any confusion." "Lieutenant." Morrison meant no disrespect. "In human culture, we allow women to go first as a sign of respect." The alien touched her translation device again and listened to Lisa's words. Her glow got a little brighter, but she still looked confused. "You show respect by suggesting I cannot lead?" she asked. "This makes no sense to me." Dr. Foster moved closer, and Jake could see her brain working fast to figure out what was happening. "Ma'am," she said to the alien, "I think we have a cultural misunderstanding here. What Lieutenant Morrison did is considered good manners among humans." The alien looked at each of them with eyes that sparkled like stars. Jake could see intelligence there, and also something that might have been worry. "I am Veltar," she said finally. "I speak for my people in this meeting. Your customs are strange to us. We must learn more about why you act this way." Jake felt a little relief that she was willing to talk instead of leaving. Maybe he had not ruined everything after all. But he also realized that this was going to be more complicated than anyone had expected. If something as simple as being polite could cause problems, then what other surprises were waiting for them? The meeting room on the space station was the fanciest place Jake had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of metal that reflected light in rainbow colors, and the table in the center was polished so bright he could see his face in it. Large windows showed the curve of Earth below, with clouds swirling over blue oceans. It should have been beautiful, but Jake felt too nervous to enjoy it. Veltar sat across from the human delegation with 3 other Zephyrians beside her. Their crystal bodies caught the light from the windows and threw sparkles around the room like living prisms. Jake tried not to stare, but it was hard because they were so different from anything he had ever seen. Captain Ryan Davis sat at the head of the table representing the military, while Ambassador Lisa Carter handled the diplomatic side. Dr. Amanda Foster had her tablet ready to take notes about everything the aliens said or did. Jake sat quietly at the end, trying to stay out of trouble after his mistake at the airlock. "We welcome you to our space station," Lisa said in her professional voice. "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." Veltar touched her translation device and nodded slowly. "We also hope for peaceful relations. Your species is new to us, and we wish to understand your ways." Captain Davis leaned forward and smiled. "We've prepared living quarters for your delegation and arranged tours of our facilities. We want you to be comfortable during your stay." One of the other Zephyrians named Zen Pri spoke up. Her voice through the translator sounded younger than Veltar's. "We require no special treatment. We are capable of caring for ourselves." Jake noticed how she emphasized the word capable like it was important. Dr. Foster was scribbling notes on her tablet and looked like she was thinking hard about something. The meeting went on for another hour with both sides, asking careful questions about trade and technology. Everything seemed to be going well until it was time for lunch. Captain Davis stood up and walked around the table to where Zen Pri was sitting. He reached for her chair and started to pull it back. "Allow me," he said with a smile. Zen Pri jumped up so fast her chair fell over backward. Her crystal body blazed with bright orange light, and she made a sound like breaking glass. The other Zephyrians immediately stood up and moved toward her. "You dare," Zen Pri said through her translator. "You question my ability to move myself." Captain Davis stepped back with his hands up, looking shocked. "I was just trying to help. It's what we call being a gentleman." Veltar was on her feet now. Two in her glow had turned a deep red color. "First you challenge my leadership, and now you insult Zen Pri's mobility. What kind of game are you playing?" Ambassador Lisa tried to calm things down. "Please sit, everyone. This is another misunderstanding." Captain Davis was showing respect, not insult. "Respect." Veltar repeated the word like it tasted bad. "You show respect by suggesting we are too weak to perform basic functions." Jake watched Dr. Foster frantically typing on her tablet. She looked up with wide eyes and said, "I think I'm beginning to understand the problem." But before she could explain further, Marine Kelly Brooks made things worse. She had been standing guard by the door, and when she saw the tension in the room, she stepped forward. Kelly was trying to be helpful when she noticed that Veltar was carrying a long staff with crystals attached to the top. "Ma'am, that looks heavy." Kelly said, "Would you like me to carry it for you?" The room went completely silent. Veltar's glow turned so bright it hurt to look at, and the other Zephyrians made sounds like a whole orchestra of wind chimes being shaken in a hurricane. "You wish to disarm me," Veltar said, and her translated voice was cold as ice. "You seek to take my symbol of authority." Kelly looked confused and a little scared. "No, ma'am, I just thought you might want to rest your arms." Turhan, the security chief alien, moved to stand between Kelly and Veltar. His body was bigger than the others and glowed with silver light that looked dangerous. "We will not tolerate attempts to remove our weapons." "It's not a weapon," Kelly said. "I just wanted to help." "Help," Turhan repeated. "You offer help to warriors who have not asked for it. This is how you begin attacks in your culture." "Doctor." Foster stood up quickly and almost knocked over her chair. "Everyone please stop talking. I think I know what's happening here, but the damage was already done." The Zephyrians were speaking rapidly to each other in their musical language, and their glows were getting brighter and more agitated. Veltar touched something on her staff, and Jake heard a high-pitched humming sound. "We require time to discuss what we have witnessed," Veltar announced. "Your behaviors are concerning to us." Ambassador Lisa nodded even though she looked worried. "Of course. Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready to continue." The Zephyrians filed out of the room in a tight group, with Turhan watching the humans carefully until the door closed behind them. As soon as they were gone, Captain Davis slumped in his chair and rubbed his face with both hands. "What just happened?" he asked. "I was trying to be polite." Dr. Foster was still typing on her tablet, but now she looked excited instead of worried. "I think I'm figuring this out. Their reaction to courtesy suggests a completely different social structure than ours." "Explain it simply," Lisa said. "They seem to interpret any offer of help as an insult to their competence." When Jake stepped aside for Veltar, she thought he was saying she wasn't strong enough to lead. When you pulled out Zen Priest's chair, she thought you were saying she couldn't move herself. When Kelly offered to carry the staff, she thought it was an attempt to disarm her. Jake felt his stomach sink. "So everything we think is polite, they think is rude." "Worse than rude," Dr. Foster said. "They might think we're testing them or trying to establish dominance. In their culture, individual capability might be the most important thing." Captain Davis shook his head. "How are we supposed to have diplomatic relations with people who get offended when we try to be nice?" Through the window, Jake could see a small shuttle leaving the space station. He wondered if the Zephyrians were giving up and going home. The thought made him feel sick because he knew it would be partly his fault. "We need to fix this," Lisa said. "Dr. Foster, I want you to study everything we know about their species. Look for clues about their social structure and values." "I'm already on it," Amanda said without looking up from her tablet. "But we might need to approach this differently. Instead of trying to be polite by our standards, we need to figure out what respect looks like to them." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked peaceful and beautiful from space, but he knew that millions of people down there were counting on this first contact going well. If the Zephyrians left now and told other aliens that humans were dangerous or crazy, it might be the end of Earth's chances to join the galactic community. "There has to be a way to fix this," he said quietly. Dr. Foster looked up from her tablet with determination in her eyes. "There is. We just need to understand them better. Every species has logic behind their behavior. We just need to find theirs." But as Jake watched the alien shuttle disappear into the darkness of space, he wondered if they would get another chance to try. 3 days had passed since the Zephyrians walked out of the meeting, and Jake had barely slept during any of them. He spent most of his time staring out windows at the stars, wondering if he had ruined humanity's first chance at making alien friends. Dr. Foster had been working around the clock trying to understand Zephyrian culture, but she looked tired and frustrated every time. Jake saw her. The aliens had agreed to try again after. Ambassador Lisa sent several messages apologizing for the misunderstandings. They were staying in guest quarters on the other side of the station, and Jake had seen them a few times in the hallways. They always traveled in a group and seemed to avoid looking at humans directly. Their crystal bodies glowed dimmer than before, like they were being careful not to attract attention. Today was supposed to be a fresh start. The human delegation had been briefed to avoid any gestures that might be misunderstood. No opening doors. No pulling out chairs. No offers to help carry things. Just sit still and talk business. It sounded simple enough, but Jake had a bad feeling that something would go wrong anyway. The formal dinner was being held in the station's main dining hall. The room had been decorated with flowers from Earth, and soft music played in the background. Long tables were arranged in a rectangle with humans on one side and Zephyrians on the other. Jake sat between Captain Davis and Marine Sergeant Carlos, Rivera trying to remember all the rules about what not to do. Veltar entered the dining hall first, followed by her delegation. She wore something that might have been ceremonial robes, made of a material that shifted colors like oil on water. Her staff was in her hand, and the crystals on top glowed with soft purple light. She looked around the room carefully, like she was checking for threats. Without thinking about it, Carlos stood up when he saw her. It was automatic for him, because his mother had taught him to stand when a lady entered the room. Jake started to reach out to pull Carlos back down, but it was too late. Captain Davis saw Carlos standing and stood up too. Then Jake found himself standing because everyone else was doing it. Within seconds, every human in the room was on their feet. The effect on the Zephyrians was immediate and terrible. Veltar stopped walking, and her glow flared bright red. Behind her, Turhan and Naval. Other aliens spread out in what looked like a defensive formation. The crystals on Veltar's staff began humming with energy, and sparks of electricity danced between them. "Hostile display," Turhan announced through his translator. "Coordinated threat posture detected." Ambassador Lisa realized what was happening and quickly said, "Please sit down, everyone." But the damage was already done. The Zephyrians saw the sudden coordinated movement as an act of aggression. Zenpri spoke rapidly in her own language, and Jake could hear fear in her musical voice even, without understanding the words. Her translation device caught up a moment later. "They move as one unit. This is pre-attack positioning. Carlos looked confused and scared. I was just being respectful. We always stand when ladies enter the room. Veltar's eyes fixed on him, and her glow got even brighter. You mock us with your false courtesy again. First you question our abilities. Now you threaten us with coordinated movements. Dr. Foster jumped up from her seat and immediately realized she had made things worse by moving suddenly. Please everyone stay calm. This is another cultural misunderstanding. But Turhan was not listening to explanations anymore. His silver glow had turned to angry gold, and he moved protectively in front of Veltar. We have observed enough human deception. Your species uses courtesy as a form of psychological warfare. Jake felt his heart pounding as he watched the situation spinning out of control. The Zephyrians were backing toward the exit, and several of them had devices in their hands that looked like weapons. The human security team was trying to stay calm, but Jake could see their hands moving closer to their own weapons. Ambassador. Lisa held up both hands with their palms facing the aliens. We are not threatening you. Please let us explain our customs. Customs, Veltar said, and the word came out like an accusation. You call these customs, but we see the pattern. First, individual challenges, then group displays of readiness. Your courtesy is a form of dominance testing. Captain Davis tried to help, but only made things worse. Ma'am, we're just trying to be polite. In human culture, these gestures show respect. Turhan made a sound like crystal breaking. Respect through weakness displays. Respect through coordination threats. Your respect is designed to confuse and intimidate. Dr. Foster stepped forward slowly, with her hands visible and empty. Veltar, please. What if I told you that humans extend these courtesies to everyone, including our own leaders and family members? Would that change your interpretation? Veltar considered this for a moment, and her glow dimmed slightly. You practice dominance testing on your own pack members. No, Amanda said quickly. We do it because we care about each other. Because we want everyone to feel valued and protected. The alien delegation exchanged rapid musical conversations that the translators could not keep up with. Jake could tell they were arguing about something, but he had no idea what. Finally, Veltar raised her staff, and the other Zephyrians went. Quiet, we require proof of your intentions, she announced. Your words say one thing, but your actions suggest strategic deception. How do we know you are not preparing for conflict? Carlos stepped forward, despite Captain Davis trying to wave him back. Ma'am, I've got 3 sisters. My mama raised me right. When I stand up for a lady, it's because she deserves respect, not because I want to fight her. Something in Carlos's simple, honest words seemed to get through to Veltar. Her glow shifted from red toward blue as she tilted her head to study him more carefully. You speak of family obligation, she said. This courtesy extends to blood relations. Yes, ma'am, Carlos nodded. And to strangers, too. That's just how decent people act. Zenpri moved closer to Veltar and spoke quietly in their language. After a moment, Veltar touched her translation device and spoke again. Zenpri suggests that your behavior might indicate pack bonding instincts rather than aggression. She notes that your species seems to extend protective gestures to individuals outside your genetic line. Dr. Foster's eyes lit up with understanding. Yes, exactly. Humans form social bonds with people who aren't related to us. We treat friends, and even strangers, like family members. The tension in the room began to ease slightly as the Zephyrians considered this new interpretation. But Jake could see that they were still suspicious and confused. Turhan kept his weapon ready and watched every human movement carefully. We must report these observations to our High Council, Veltar said finally. They will decide if this pack bonding theory is credible or if humans represent a deceptive threat. She turned toward the exit, and the other Zephyrians followed in tight formation. As they reached the door, Veltar paused and looked back at the human delegation. "Your species is unlike any we have encountered," she said. "This makes you either very valuable allies or very dangerous enemies. We will determine which." After the aliens left the dining hall, Jake slumped in his chair feeling exhausted. Around him, the other humans sat in stunned silence, trying to process what had just happened. "Did we just get threatened by our own politeness?" Carlos asked quietly. Dr. Foster was already pulling out her tablet again. "We're missing something important about their psychology. They keep talking about pack behavior and dominance. Maybe their species never developed cooperative social structures like ours." Ambassador Lisa nodded grimly. "Whatever the case, we're running out of chances to get this right. If their High Council decides we're a threat, this could be the end of peaceful first contact." Jake looked out the window at the stars and wondered how many other alien species were out there, watching to see how humanity handled this first meeting. If the Zephyrians spread word that humans were dangerous or unpredictable, it might close doors that would never open again. "There has to be a way to make them understand," he said. Dr. Foster looked up from her tablet with determination in her tired eyes. "There is. We just need to show them what human cooperation really looks like, not as a threat, but as our greatest strength." Dr. Foster had not left her lab in 18 hours, and when Jake found her, she looked like she had been wrestling with invisible demons. Her hair was messy, and there were empty coffee cups scattered around her desk. Multiple screens showed videos of the meetings with the Zephyrians, along with charts and graphs that hurt Jake's eyes to look at. "Amanda, you need to sleep," Jake said as he set a fresh cup of coffee next to her keyboard. She looked up with red eyes, but there was excitement there too. "I think I've figured it out, Jake. The key to understanding them was right in front of us the whole time." Jake sat down in the chair across from her desk and waited for her to explain. Outside the lab window, he could see one of the Zephyrian shuttles docked to the station. They had not left yet, which had to be a good sign. "Their entire species evolved differently than we did," Amanda said as she pulled up a new screen. "Humans developed as pack hunters who had to cooperate to survive. We learned to share resources and help each other because that made the whole group stronger." "That makes sense," Jake said. "But what about them?" Amanda pointed to a chart showing Zephyrian physiology. "They're crystalline beings who can absorb energy directly from their sun. They never needed to hunt in groups or share food. Each individual was completely self-sufficient from birth." Jake studied the information on the screen and began to understand. "So they never learned to help each other because they never needed help." "Exactly," Amanda nodded. "And more than that. In their society, offering help implies that someone is defective or weak. It's like saying they're broken and can't function properly." The pieces started falling into place in Jake's mind. "That's why Veltar got upset when I stepped aside for her. She thought I was saying she couldn't handle going first. And why Zen Pri got angry when Captain Davis pulled out her chair. To her, it meant he thought she couldn't move herself." Amanda pulled up another screen showing recordings of Zephyrian body language. "Look at their glow patterns when we offer help. Red means anger or offense. Orange means confusion. They literally cannot understand why we would offer assistance to capable individuals." Jake felt a mix of excitement and worry. Understanding the problem was good, but it also meant the gap between the species was bigger than anyone had realized. "So how do we fix this? How do we make them see that we're not insulting them?" Amanda leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. "We need to show them the positive side of human cooperation. They only see our courtesy as weakness or strategy. They need to understand that it's actually our greatest strength." There was a soft chime from the lab's communication system, and Ambassador Lisa's voice came through the speakers. "Dr. Foster, please report to Conference Room 3 immediately. The Zephyrians have agreed to one final meeting." Jake and Amanda hurried through the station corridors toward the conference room. Along the way, Amanda explained her plan to demonstrate human cooperation in a way the Zephyrians could understand and appreciate. "We need to show them real cooperation in action," she said as they walked. "Not just courtesy gestures, but actual problem-solving teamwork." They arrived at the conference room to find the human delegation already seated around the table. Veltar and her team sat across from them, looking wary but willing to listen. The atmosphere was tense, but not as hostile as it had been during the dinner incident. Ambassador Lisa stood up as Jake and Amanda entered. "Dr. Foster has been studying your culture and believes she can explain the misunderstandings we've been having." Veltar touched her translation device and nodded. "We are willing to hear your theories about human behavior. Our High Council requires a full report before making decisions about future relations." Amanda moved to the front of the room where a large screen had been set up. "Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I want to start by acknowledging that our species developed very differently." She activated the screen and showed images of early human tribes working together to hunt and build shelters. Humans evolved as social creatures who survived by cooperating with each other. We learned that helping others made our whole group stronger and safer. The Zephyrians watched the images with interest. Their crystal bodies glowed with soft blue. Light, which Amanda had learned, meant they were paying attention and processing information. "Your species developed differently," Amanda continued, as the screen showed images of Zephyrian home worlds. "You are individuals who can survive independently without needing assistance from others. This is not weakness, it is actually quite remarkable." Turhan leaned forward and spoke. "You acknowledge our individual capabilities. This is different from your previous behavior." "Yes," Amanda nodded. "We were showing you courtesy based on our own cultural values without understanding yours. When we offered help, we thought we were being kind. We didn't realize you would see it as an insult." Veltar's glow shifted to a warmer blue color. "You admit your courtesy was based on ignorance rather than strategic deception." Jake decided to speak up. "Ma'am, when I stepped aside for you at the airlock, I was doing what my mother taught me. In human families, we take care of each other and show respect by putting others first." "Family care?" Zenpri repeated thoughtfully. "You extend family behaviors to non-relatives." Amanda seized on this understanding. "Exactly. Humans form emotional bonds with people outside our genetic lines. We call it friendship. We treat friends like family members, and sometimes even strangers like potential friends." The Zephyrians exchanged musical conversations that were too rapid for the translators to follow. Jake could see they were debating something important based on the way their glows kept changing colors. Finally, Veltar raised her staff for silence. "This pack bonding concept is difficult for us to understand. You form alliances with individuals who provide no genetic advantage." "That's right," Amanda said. "And those alliances make us stronger as a species. When humans work together, we can solve problems that no individual could handle alone." To demonstrate this, Amanda had arranged for a simple test. She asked Jake and Carlos to work together to solve a puzzle that required two people to coordinate their actions. The Zephyrians watched with growing interest as the two humans communicated and cooperated to complete the task. "They share information freely," Turhan observed. "Each individual could have attempted to solve this alone, but they choose to work together. Working together makes them more efficient," Zenpri added. "This is not weakness, it is optimization." Amanda nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, exactly. Human cooperation is not about thinking someone is weak. It's about making everyone stronger through teamwork." Veltar stood up and walked closer to the screen, showing human cooperation throughout history. "You are saying that your courtesy gestures are expressions of this teamwork instinct." "That's right," Jake said. When I held the door for you, I wasn't saying you couldn't open it yourself. I was trying to include you in our team." The room went quiet as the Zephyrians processed this new understanding. Their glows shifted through various colors as they communicated in their musical language. Finally, Veltar touched her translation device and spoke. "We begin to see that human behavior follows a different logic than we first believed. Your pack bonding creates cooperative networks that extend beyond genetic relationships." Dr. Foster smiled for the first time in days. "Our courtesy isn't about dominance or weakness. It's about building connections with others and showing that we care about their well-being." Turhan's silver glow shifted to a curious green color. This suggests that humans might be capable of forming alliances with species they have never encountered before. "Yes," Amanda said. "We automatically assume positive intent and look for ways to cooperate, even with people we just met." Veltar walked back to her seat, but her posture looked less defensive than before. This pack bonding ability could be valuable in galactic diplomacy. Most species we know are focused on individual or tribal advantage. The meeting continued for another hour as both sides explored this new understanding. The Zephyrians began to see human courtesy not as insult or strategy, but as evidence of an unusual social evolution. Humans began to understand that individual capability and self-reliance were core values in Zephyrian culture. As the meeting ended, Veltar made an announcement that filled Jake with hope. "We will recommend to our High Council that humans be considered for alliance status. Your cooperation abilities could be useful in resolving conflicts between other species." For the first time since the aliens arrived, Jake felt like everything might work out after all. The observation deck was quiet except for the soft hum of life support systems as Jake stood looking out at the stars. 2 weeks had passed since Dr. Foster's breakthrough with the Zephyrians, and things had changed dramatically. The aliens were still on the station, but now they seemed curious about humans instead of suspicious. Jake had even caught some of them watching human crew members go about their daily routines. Veltar appeared beside him at the viewing window, moving so quietly that Jake jumped when he noticed her. Her crystal body glowed with a soft blue light. That meant she was relaxed and thinking. The staff she always carried was dim and peaceful looking. "Lieutenant Morrison," she said through her translator, "I have been wanting to speak with you privately." Jake turned to face her and tried not to stare at the way light moved under her crystal skin like flowing water. "Of course, ma'am. What can I do for you?" "I wish to conduct an experiment," Veltar said. "Dr. Foster has explained human cooperation, but I want to see it for myself under natural conditions." Before Jake could ask what she meant, Veltar deliberately loosened her grip on her ceremonial staff. The heavy crystal rod slipped from her fingers and fell toward the deck with a ringing sound. Jake's reflexes kicked in without any conscious thought, and he caught the staff before it could hit the ground. "Are you okay?" he asked as he held out the staff to her. "Did you hurt your hand?" Veltar stared at him for a long moment, and her glow shifted through several colors. "You caught my staff without being asked. You showed concern for my well-being without knowing if I was truly injured." Jake felt confused by her tone. "Well, yeah. I mean, it looked like you dropped it by accident. And I was right here, so I just helped." "Just helped," Veltar repeated slowly. "You saw a problem and immediately acted to solve it, even though it provided no benefit to you personally." "I guess so," Jake said as he continued holding out her staff. "That's what people do, isn't it?" Veltar took the staff back, and her glow brightened with what Jake had learned was excitement or amazement. That is what humans do. Most species would have waited to see if assistance was requested, or would have calculated the cost-benefit of helping. She touched her translation device and spoke in her musical language for several minutes. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear emotion in her voice. When she switched back to English, her translate